Hi, welcome to A Hot Take, a podcast where we feature new and trending authors. My name is Jenna Green. I'm a YA fantasy author of the Imagine series and the Reborn Mark series. With me is Miranda O, a contemporary chick lit author of the Chin Up Tits Out series. And she has the privilege and honor of introducing our guest for today. Hi, Miranda.
Hello. I am thrilled to introduce our guest today. And in the theme of October, we're talking a little spooky. We have Rachael Tamayo. You say Tamayo, I say Tamayo. Okay, sorry. Side note, tangent. She is a former 911 emergency operator and police dispatcher. Now, after 12 years in those dark depths, she's gained a unique insight and perspective to mental illness, human behavior, and the general darkness of humanity. So, spooky season, we are going to dive right into that. Now, you like to weave all of this into the books, and now she has titles such as Break My Bones, Once Upon a Kiss, and Carnal Knowledge. So welcome, Rachael. We are so thrilled to have you and chit chat with you today.
I'm really glad to be back on here today. I'm excited.
We are too. Now, it's been a while since we have spoken, and before we kind of get into your writing, I want to talk a little bit about kind of what makes Rachael. So, tell us a little bit about where you're from and what about your non-writing skills, interests, hobbies, side careers, all that stuff.
I am from the Texas Gulf Coast. I have lived here in the Houston area pretty much my entire life. I have 2 kids. My 4-year-old, and I am 44 years old, and I have a 4-year-old child. So I did that. And we had fertility issues for a long time. So we got a bit of a late start. My husband and I. I I was a 911 operator for a long time. I I did struggle with the idea of getting out of it, but I worked the Santa Fe school shooting. Not directly, but my SWAT team was in there. So that disturbed me a lot. Even though I did not take those 911 calls, they called in to our police department that Santa Fe had called another police department because they were handling their calls because they were overwhelmed, obviously, at the time. They called us and asked us to dispatch their SWAT team. And I took that call from that police department and asked us. They had an active shooter in a school. And quite honestly, I was speechless.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought I would get that call. I was stunned. And I took that call and I dispatched our SWAT team into that situation. That call, I had to get out after that. It took me some time, a little while after of deciding what was the best situation for me. But I have kids and everything, and realizing how much trouble I was having with the idea of putting my kids in school. I realized I needed to get out.
Yeah.
For my own mental health. So I got out of it, and now I dispatch for a private company that has nothing to do with law enforcement. I work well under pressure, obviously. I do read a lot. I do audiobooks though, because I write, I read, I work, I have 2 kids. I'm constantly running around. So I do audiobooks, and I do review all the books that I read. I put them on my blog on my website. So if anybody wants to know what I'm reading and what I think of it, it's there. But basically, just a mom, hanging out,
doing your thing. Now, you have obviously led an interesting life. Like if you've ever watched any of those movies where you see the 911 dispatcher deal with a call on the other end, there's a couple of movies that are out there. I'm sure that has been your reality more than one or two situations. How has that influenced your writing career? Like for me, I absolutely love writing from my experiences and sharing that from a personal point of view. Jenna writes fantasy, so she takes her experiences and spins them off with magic and creates an entire different world, but themes those life experiences into and weaves them into her characters and her storylines. How has your life experience and career experience interjected into your writing?
It definitely did. At first, when I first started writing, I did start in romance because I was trying to develop my voice, but now that I know what I'm doing and I'm way more comfortable in that darker thriller area and I can weave that stuff into it. The basically the knowledge of the effect that trauma has on people and the fact that everybody reacts differently. Everybody. I mean, you cannot predict how something is going to affect you. You can't. And I have stories from Dispatch that have inspired the books that I've written, or the stories within the stories, sort of. I twist them around and, things like that. The things I know about mental illness, and there's no box that any of it fits in, especially things like mental illness, and you can't fit it in a box. You can't. It's just shapeless. It can go in so many different directions.
Right.
Knowing all that, I can make characters that are more realistic, and I think people can relate to it.
Yeah, very much. The only thing that mental illness relates when it comes to a box is Pandora's box, because when you open it, a bunch of stuff comes out.
Right.
But it's interesting. Like I like your perspective of knowing or learning about mental illness and experiencing it from the other end, and how it shapes your characters. I've definitely done that myself, but again, that was my own experience with mental illness, and being on the receiving end of a phone call in somebody's worst moments, and being able to take that and articulate it and create characters from it. Do you feel like it has helped you heal from any of the trauma you experienced? Like when I say trauma, I envision that job being stressful, and it has potentially a high burnout rate because you are going through some people's trauma right there with them, from the time it happens to the time it stops happening, and whatever that end piece is, right? So I can imagine that there's some mental discombobulation that happens to the dispatcher as well. So recreating these stories in your own way, twisting them, turning them, has that been a healing tool for you over the time of writing?
I honestly think yes, it has. My daughter's knocking on the door. Sorry. Go see Dad, Shane. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, we're three moms here.
Right. It has. It has. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing it. But and like right now, honestly, I've had writer's block and I couldn't figure out why, and I realized why, and it was because of a situation similar to this. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail because it's a current work in progress. But I realized it, and I'm like, ugh. It's like tough sometimes, and you realize it's a thing that you really need to get past. It's therapeutic to work through it. And I think it's a way to memorialize some of it. And also, I want to say too that people that work closely in any kind of law enforcement field have a tendency to want to put the police, law enforcement, procedural stuff in the spotlight. You know, that is what they want to shine everything on. And I've never wanted to do that. And don't get me wrong, there's police in a lot of my books. There's, crimes happening and, problems being solved and stuff. Sometimes the police are good and sometimes they're not. But in my books too. But I never wanted the police or the procedure to be the story. I wanted the people, the issue, the thing they're dealing with to be the story. There's that too.
That human side of things. You're writing, you're not necessarily writing a crime detective book. You're writing something that's dark and from the person, the victim or the perpetrator's point of view, not necessarily. I like that because at the end of the day, I feel like it couldn't be more relatable. Not everybody can put their mind into a cop's boots or into a law enforcement's, point of view, but everybody can kind of put themselves into the shoes of a victim or somebody going through something dark or traumatic, because everybody's gone through something dark and traumatic, right?
Right. And everybody's been through something, and that everybody's got the line, everybody's got the button, that'll push you just too far. That thing too, the good people that are made not to be such good people sometimes, because of that kind of stuff too. And you see that I've seen that in, like, Stephen King does that sometimes in his books, which I'm kind of hung up on him right now. I've been reading some of his stuff. He does that in some of the characters that are not really good, but not really bad, because people aren't really good, but aren't really bad sometimes. Most people aren't.
We're all the gray area.
Exactly. You're not really the devil, but you're definitely not an angel, so it's, a thinker, when you read some
everything's
of these people,
perspective.
it's relatable.
Yeah, there's a lot of perspective in it. Like, I could have a fight with my husband, and from my point of view, I'm the protagonist. From his point of view, I'm the antagonist. From my daughter's point of view, we're both silly Billy buttheads. And the person walking outside has their perspective, and so there's all those perspectives. And then, just as Miranda was saying before, I write fantasy, and I've never seen a dragon, but I know what fear is, and I can write that, right? And so that's what literature is.
Right. And I was reading about something like that. It's like, it was something Stephen King had said, because I was reading through how he dealt with writer's block, and it was something I'd stumbled upon. He's like, he didn't have to go out and physically kill somebody to know how it went,
Right.
It's just,
the feelings are the feelings, right?
Like, here's hoping he didn't have to go out. He's written a lot of books.
Thanks for confirming that, Sir Stephen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Quite the high body count.
It really helped me pass my writer's block. It really got me out of it. So he saved me, because I've never had writer's block like that.
Yeah, and when you do, it's terrible. I always liken it I always liken to feelings, like the feeling. Let's go back to the feeling of fear. Fear. When you strip away the scenario, whatever, fear manifests as physical feelings inside of us, right? Our body tenses up, the hair on the back of our neck stands up, our heart rate increases, right? Like all this stuff. So if you can identify the physical attributes of fear, then you just you write that into the circumstance into the scene. You don't necessarily have to be chased with somebody with a machete through a jungle in the middle of the night, or have somebody live in the attic and, you know, spy on you, you know. But if you implement all of that, like, when you explain that to people that aren't writers or creators, they think about it for a minute, and then the little light bulb goes off. I'm like, that's why you relate. That's why when you watch a movie or you read a book, the hair stands up on the back of your neck. You start to quicken your pace of reading because you're like, oh my God, I'm so scared, but I can't stop because I need this scene to end. And that just means you're doing a good job as a creator and as a writer. And I feel like all those stories that you've put out there definitely are those page turners, because you've been in the shoe of the people on the other line in fear, and you've helped them get through there. So that's giving you this fly on the wall kind of perspective of all these really heavy feelings over the years of being a dispatcher.
When I was I never forgot this. It stuck with me, and it kind of helps when you're creating a character that's afraid too. They said, because they were teaching us about mental illness and how to treat people on the phone with mental illness. It was for police and for dispatch, because both police and dispatchers have to be taught and certified to deal with the mentally ill. They told us never treat them like whatever it is that they're afraid of, whatever delusion it is that they have that's making them so scared, isn't real. Because to them, it is real.
Yep.
That thing to them, whatever it is as real as you are.
Yep.
And that always stuck with me. Even if it is something that is imaginary, to them, it is as real as anything in the world. And that thought kind of helps you create that fear. You know, it's not just a thought in their head. It is real. It is a living,
and they're scared either way.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, and not even just for the mentally ill, but for anyone that's afraid. You know, if you think of it like that, when you're trying to create something that's frightening or, you know, tense.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's definitely however you feel. It's like if you feel insecure about your body. Let's use that one. I'm a mom of 7 months old. I'm insecure about my body. I feel how I feel about it. It doesn't matter how many people tell me, well, you look great. Well, thank you. But I feel the same. I feel the way I feel about it. Right. And I feel different than great. So it doesn't necessarily just sit in the realm of mentally ill. It fits in the realm of just humanity. Right. Whatever we feel is real, but it's our perspective. Right.
When I've done conflict resolution stuff, I've never been any dispatch or anything, but they say really focus on your feelings, because no one can argue with your feelings. Like if you say this situation made, like they can argue, well, that's not how it happened, or that. But if you say, I am frustrated, they can't say, no, you're not, because your feelings are your feelings. And they have to be like, all right, you must feel frustrated. Now, whether the things that led up to that, you know, perception and things weigh into that, but you can't argue with someone's feelings. If they feel frustrated, they're frustrated. If they're sad, they're sad. If they're mad, they're mad. And you can't say, no, you're not.
Right.
That's what you're going.
Then that goes into there's certain personality types that will try and argue with your feelings and tell you how you're supposed to feel, and that comes into a different, you know,
whole different realm.
There's a whole other thing.
There's a whole different thing.
That's a good time for us to just
tangent away from that one.
We'll
talk about it for 45 minutes.
I've written those stories too. Speaking of, you know,
the definition of a narcissist
and crazy love, and
let's talk about some of the stuff you've been doing recently. What's your most recent release?
The one that actually had just come out is Carnal Knowledge. That is the second book in the Deadly Sin series, The Sin of Lust. But when I say lust, I don't mean like, you know, let's get it on, lust. I mean, like, lust, like an unsatisfiable desire, which can be for a lot of things. And it's about, basically, it's about a woman who's being stalked by a serial killer. So she knows she's being stalked by a serial killer, and just all the things that happen to her is she struggles through this. It has a very surprise ending. I'm probably one of the best endings I have done to date. A surprise ending. That one's out now. It came out, I want to say last July. And then I have Mine, which was just announced. Publication was just announced. That one is on pre-order now. That is book 3 in the Deadly Sin series, The Sin of Greed. That one is going to be published in February of 2022. Like I said, it's on pre-order now. That is basically, it's a real twisty, turny. It's that book was so complicated to write. I don't even know how to begin to tell you what it's about. It's like, it's seriously, when the blurb or the description on the back on the Amazon says you don't know what's happening until the very end of the book, it's really true. It's just so things turn in it so many times that in the end you're gonna be like, I'm gonna have to go back, because it's.
I like
it's
that
really
you were
twisted.
like, I don't know how to describe it. There's a meme about that. It's like, publisher, author, we need a blurb for the back of the book. And the writer's like, what? I can't do that. You wrote the book. Yeah, I didn't know there'd be a quiz. I love that meme.
Exactly.
It makes me laugh. I'm like, I didn't know there'd be a quiz on it.
Character. I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah. So the series starts, which book does this? So what's the first book in the series?
Break My Bones. You can read them in any order. They're not in any order. They're standalone. Each one is its own story. But the first one that came out was Break My Bones, which was The Sin of Anger.
And then did you pick, like, I mean, they don't have to be read in that particular order, but was Anger like the one you wanted to tackle first, and was Lust the one you wanted to tackle second, or was it just this story came first and this story came second?
It's just the story that came to me, honestly. Break My Bones is a spin-off. Well, not really a spin-off, but the character in Break My Bones actually occurred in one of my romance novels. A couple of them did.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a little nugget that not a lot of people might know.
They do now. They're listening.
Mm-hmm. The main character in Break My Bones, who's a domestic violence victim, who's pulled herself back together, recovered from running away from her husband and been homeless and so forth, trying to get away from him, pulled herself back together, has a job now and everything. She is in the very tail end of Reach for Me. Excuse me. As a person that is rescued off the streets by the two main characters in that book. They run into her because she has a child with her, and she's kind of just hanging out on the streets, and they stop, and like, this girl has a child with her. They start talking to her a little bit, and they help her. Basically, it's just a scene in the end of the book. That's just like a little Easter egg kind of thing, that somebody might not pick up. It's the same character.
It's interesting that as a writer you get to do that you can add those little nuggets and things.
Yeah, and it all kind of happens in the same area, in the same city, so I was able to have some of the characters pop up from that series, in there. Because that was my very first series, the Friend Zone romance series. And so, and when I wrote that book, when I had her rescued off the street, I was like, I really want to tell her story. this woman who was rescued off the street with this child. I want to tell her story. When I was writing that, I knew I wanted to, but I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, and I did.
That happens a lot with writing. I'm like, I got to get from point A to point C. I don't know what point B is, but if I just keep writing, and it usually does. But yeah, it's always like,
and if she had
I don't really know that
she had a story.
Was it fun taking those 7 habits and just not 7 habits, 7 deadly sins, and just tweaking them just like the littlest? That's what I'm teaching my health kids. Sorry. Like taking the sin of lust and making it still about lust, but just more about craving versus, right? Was it fun just taking them and just tilting them? I would almost say.
Yes, I like doing that. Because, and then carnal knowledge is like, because it seems like it's going to be about this, and then like I said, you think it's going to be about bloodlust, because the serial killer, and he's teasing her and this and that, and then in the end, when it all comes out, when the truth of everything is exposed, it's like it's just like it all comes together like a puzzle, that falls into place, and I love it when that happens, and I don't go into it like knowing that that's going to happen. I wish I did, but I don't. I can't claim that, but
just claim it. No one's
I don't, I'm not one of those that, sits down and I know exactly what's going to happen. I have no idea, but it did happen that well in that one. And I love that. I didn't want it to just be about lust or just be about a guy being angry or like in greed. I don't just want it to be about somebody that wants to steal money from somebody else. I want it to be different,
I mean, you can be greedy in terms of like people's time, or you can like gluttony. We always think about that as food, but you can overdo or over want and in lots of different things. So it'll be interesting thematically to see what the undertones are, and I feel like it'll be very intriguing, and you'll be thinking without know you're thinking, and then you're thinking different, and then you don't know because there's so many twists and turns.
I don't know what I'm gonna do for gluttony. I honestly have no idea. But in with mine, it is about greed. It is about somebody that wants to steal money from somebody, but it's just so backwards, and it starts out with a woman stalking somebody, and like the whole first quarter of the book is her chasing this guy that she married in Vegas when they were drunk, and you're like, what's going to happen here, and then the whole thing changes, and then the whole thing changes again, and in the end the whole story finally comes out. So
if I don't sleep until 4:00 in the morning because I really need to finish the book, I can send you an inbox going, love you, but kind of dislike you because I'm tired now.
That's probably going to happen. Yeah. That's probably going to happen.
Right. It's like you get those books, or you get those stupid Netflix series, like the short series, and you just get stuck in them, and then all of a sudden the sun's coming up. Well, now it's wintertime, so the sun don't ever come up. But
have you ever held your eyes open like you're so tired
and they
you need it to happen? You're literally like, I've done that. I did that with A Court of Thorn and Roses. I was like, and my husband's like, just go to bed. I'm like, I need to know. So unless you're over here holding my eyes open, shush.
Can you read it to me, please?
Yeah. So if people do want to read till 4 a.m. or with their eyes pried open, where can they find you and your books?
Mine is on pre-order right now, pretty much everywhere. And let me throw this out too. There is a little pre-order deal going on. If you do happen to pre-order it, if you go to my website, there's a page dedicated to this book. You can get a lot of little free goodies if you pre-order, like free, like a reading journal and wallpaper for your computer and your phone, and a coupon for Deadly Sins uh, merchandise, a huge discount, by the way, stuff like that. If you pre-order, that stuff is on my website, and all that stuff's on my website.
We'll put your website in the description of the podcast as well, so people can just easily click that and find you and get the website and get the little screen wallpaper, all that fun stuff, and then get all the books and read until 4:00 in the morning. Because we have 2 weeks of October left here, people. So I think if you're gonna divulge into this is the time to do it, right?
Yeah. And I have plenty of other books that you can read while you're waiting. Break My Bones. And let me tell you, my boss got Break My Bones, and I think this is funny. I love it when this happens, and I'm sure you guys would understand, because it's about domestic violence. She started reading it, and she got so mad. She got so angry. Like in the first chapter, she got angry. She was texting me. She said she was reading it in the bathtub, and she was texting me. She was like, I am so mad. She wasn't mad enough that she couldn't read it. She wanted to know what happened. But the book made her angry. Yeah. And I'm like, that's great.
Right? I've made my aunt cry a few times. She's like, I had a little problem with this.
You bring out emotions of anger and hate and tears and bring feelings out in people,
I got mad one time and threw a book
carnal knowledge,
clear across the room. I was so mad at the book. I was like yelling at the character. I was like, don't do it. Don't say it. Don't say it. And then they said it. And I was like,
across the room.
So mad.
Of course you did.
I was so mad. It was Lord of the Rings. I was so mad. I was like, Pippin, don't you do it. Don't you do it. And then he did it. And then I hucked it. And my sister's like, what's happening? I was like, I'm just really mad right now.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big book to throw, too.
Yeah. It is. Like, did it make a hurt?
She's my older sister. She's tough. It's fine.
She took it.
She took it. Yeah. Well, on that note, it was just absolutely wonderful having you. We got to talk about some creepy, good stuff, good discussion. We learned about lust and greed and anger and all the wonder perception and feelings, and also we went a lot of places tonight.
We sure did.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
We had an absolute blast. Just before we go, we would like to send a big shout out to our show sponsors. So thank you to the Authors Library Network and to Creative Edge Publicity with Mickey Mickelson. And of course, to all our viewers and all our listeners, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.